Hey, how you doing? So I was just updating the stream template and broke something. So I'm in the middle of trying to fix it right while I'm going live. So what I'm doing. How you guys doing? Connor, sorry I missed you earlier, man. I've had a hell of a couple days. I spent most of the day building a fence, which turns out won't do its job. So my hands are ruined for literally nothing right now. And yeah, then this. See, everything's broken. So I'm going to fix that quickly before we can get back on track, as it were. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just real life couple days. Trying to build a fence to keep my dogs in, so they don't have to run around free as much. And yeah, the only fencing I had turns out they can all fit through. So, long story. Okay, that should do it. What? Oh, right. There we go. Oh, okay. I wasn't working at the top of the sheet, so unexpected errors. Actually, I seem to have broken something else because all these points are coming out way too low. Oh man, I can't get a win today. Hang on a second. All right, so hey Connor, how you doing? I don't actually know what to do with our projection model at this point. It basically takes tweaking, so we have to work it a little bit and look for errors, and then see what kind of projections it's doing, and try and work backwards from potential mistakes or over-exaggerated averages or anything that's in our theory that isn't working quite as well as it should, basically. So first thing I was gonna do is upload a copy of it so you could all be updated, but now I realized I haven't kept good track of exactly which cells I'm using over here, so I can thin it down so that it can actually upload to Google Sheets. Okay, I'm using this. So this has to move over here now. Something I've added, which I was going to talk about once I finished introducing this, but now obviously I'm behind. I went through and I was trying to find a decent way of adjusting for quarterback. It's different when you get Ryan Fitzpatrick versus someone else, right? And so I was just looking for a simple thing we could do to adjust receiving expectations based on quarterback, even though I project from the team to the quarterback. And so one way I've done it, I went through and created an average for completion percentage or catch percentage for wide receivers and tight ends, based on quarterback ones. And as long as they've got a decent enough history, and if they don't, we just default to the average of catch percentage. What the team section does now is it takes the average for players that have an A-dot over 11 or an A-dot under 11 and combines it with the player's own history. And so you get a slight adjustment for quarterback history if they have a history decent enough to create an average. Also based on their A-dot or the most recent or their career average A-dot anyway. So, for example, looking at Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's got a completion percent average below 11 of around 48.4, which is actually terrible, but above 11, he's got a completion percentage of like 63.5. And so anyone with an ADOT over 11 is getting a slight bump because I'm doing the average between that quarterback's average and whatever player efficiency you're actually projecting. And I thought that's just a pretty nice, simple hack or adjustment to put in there. So you're already getting some expectation on how well, because the completion percentage directly affects how many targets are going to turn into receptions. And from the receptions, we're projecting other stats. And so it does kind of have a slight knock-on effect. If there's anything drastic, because I'm not adjusting it far, I'm just averaging the player and the quarterback's history based on their ADOT, then we should be getting just a little bit of a nudge, just a nice nudge. Right now, our cup quarterbacks, by the way, top 5 are Murray, Mahomes, Brady, Daniel Jones, weirdly. Got to take a look at New York, and then Lamar Jackson. And yeah, he's getting 986 rushing yards. So yeah, that at least passes. It's probably not where you want your projections to land, but it's not projecting Ryan Fitzpatrick in the top 5 or anything. I think it's pretty decent. I've been going through and adjusting as I want. I find this game column based on the thing we've built really useful. Because essentially what you're saying is how many games are they going to get touches? Essentially, you don't even have to think about it in terms of injury, although you could import an injury formula if you have injury data and adjust it that way. What I've been going through is like Max Williams. I don't think he's catching receptions in more than 5 games. AJ Green, I expect him to be limited. Larry Fitzgerald, same thing. Hakeem Butler, I really don't expect him to get on the field much, even though I think technically he's still listed on the roster. And by doing that, I brought there was an interesting effect on targets and rushing attempts overall. And it was just, a quick once over. And that leaves you extra to project onto other players as well. And so I thought that was interesting as well. Target, well, we already have target share. Let's see, the target share I'm using in this, the player gets this mini regression model we built, which uses their age, their the lost target percentage from the team from the year before, their average target percentage, their own personal history, their target share last year, and then their ADOT. And it created, 78% R squared. Well, that's a multiple R. The raw R squared was 61. So we got a slight boost going that way, but it also didn't do so much that I was worried that it was trying to do too much for us. I like nudges. I don't like it to create the projections for me because projections are inherently subjective, and so I want them to be my subjective, But it created us a nice player target share. And then the model itself, it takes the average for the team's wide receiver 1, if you list them as a wide receiver 1, and that regressed player's average. And so we're getting a team adjustment in there. And if we think it's doing too much or too little, you can override it in the override section. Again, projections aren't meant to be a model. It's not meant to do it for you. It's meant to be it's meant to be a grind. It's meant to be, you're meant to put your finger on the scale where you think is reasonable. If we're creating a model, it's an entirely different thing. And we wouldn't be projecting all stats. We'd just try and project points. There's no point trying to project all stats. For my money, out of a formula or out of a model. We're trying to create this thing that really teaches us what has to happen if this player is going to be good or bad. And it teaches a lot about how these players have to fit together in an offense with the way that we think the team shakes out. Projections are a lot better exercise for that more than anything else. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was finding what I have to escort over. I'll tell you what, probably the easiest way of getting you a copy of this is just to give up on the idea that you'll get all the formulas for now. So if we just do that. I do have the strength of schedule. I worked that out on the last stream for 2021 based on points per game against for the team's average and also the league average for the offenses they're facing in 2021, because the schedule's been released by the NFL. I should really create some content around that, I guess. But we're not using it yet. I don't really know how to go about using it, but it's in here. If you have a strengths of schedule thing you trust, you could use it. Or here's just like a little default one I create. Actually, you don't need this. This is something I was looking at. Okay, yeah, it's doing its job. Neat. See if anything else broke. Hey, Detroit BC, how you doing, bud? I'm glad you're enjoying, man. I do. I'm a little tired. I hope it doesn't come across too bad. Hey, Cash, how you doing, buddy? But I'm actually worn out. My daughter asked for a bath just before I came down here, and I was like, yeah, I'd probably rather do that. But I've already put this stream off for 2 days, so. I mean, how good points per game allowed by position is all too good. Okay, let me try this one again. I mean, not sure how good points per game allowed by position is all too good. Honestly, if you really want to use strength schedule, would probably use Vegas stuff somehow. And yeah, and I've done that with DLF. All strengths of schedule is bullshit, though. It's literally all you know that, right? Like there is no truth to any of it. Well, there's truth to it. It's calculated fairly, but it's of no use whatsoever. I do it more as just an eye test so I can get closer in line with the average, because when you're putting projections out there, you don't want to be too insane. And that's why I don't have it factored in yet, but I haven't yet talked about it here. But yeah, I find it entirely worthless and useless. And so I just do it's actually pretty intensive. I did it on stream last time. And yeah, it takes a lot of data inputting, but like it's fairly reasonable. It passes the nerd test when you describe what you did, and it describes about as much as any strengths of schedule thing does. That's why I do it that way. I have incorporated Vegas, but they just incorporating more of what other people think, and I haven't even gotten to that bit yet. We can incorporate Vegas. I normally like to. But that's, again, more to keep me just being too insane from the average, not necessarily increasing the rate at which I hit or anything like that. That's not what it does. I mean, there's a lot of work behind that number, to be fair. I shouldn't be so sarcastic about it. But I mean, yeah, all strength schedule stuff's just made to be made. That's why I don't make a lot of content about it. It takes a lot of work, and I put it out there and I forget it, because I think it's worthless, and I don't really like talking about something I made that I literally think is worthless because it feels cheap. But it's not hard. It's not easy, but it's not hard. You can create whatever method you want around it. It's still going to be, in my mind, worthless. So, vacated target leader this year. I don't know actually yet. That's actually one of the things I got to fix in your data, because I'm using previous years. And we don't have 2021 roster in here, apart from what we're creating over here in the model. And so right now it's just using vacated targets from 2020, which is a little unfortunate. We don't need this or this or this. I'm literally just trying to create a file I can export to you all. I think I'm deleting information that it's using, though, because I forgot to keep track of it well. Because I'm stupid, basically. I don't need that. I'm just removing most of my NFL database so I can upload it to Google Sheets so you can all get the new revised template as much as it's worth. I may as well, get it to you all. Ah, crap. Yeah, there we go. There we go. And again, I just use the M plus formula, so vacated targets is also, a question mark. I don't think you need any of that. And we're using most of this, so it's actually pretty interesting. I thought we'd use bare minimum stats. It's interesting to see the ones I just, end up having to use. We've got rushing share, yards per touchdown, just because that's what I went through touchdowns for. Points per opportunity, I haven't yet shown you all that, but it's something I like to use as a rough eye test. I don't know if it'll work for you all, but I put that in there. That's a touchdown rate. You need that. We'll keep points per game for now. Why not? Yards per team pass attempt. We're actually not using that yet. So fantasy points over expected per game. Not using that. We're not using expected points even. Targets per game. I can't remember. Let's just keep it in, I guess. I don't think we're using targets per game. Nah. Yards per target. Yeah, we're using that for running backs. Racer we're using for receiving. Completion percentage. I was using that to calculate these two, so I'll leave it in. Catch percentage, yards per carry, passing attempts, regressed average. That's a regressed average we created. Target share, average target share, makes sense. Opportunities, yeah, because we're using that for some baseline averages. We don't need position rank the following year. All right, that's about basic. That's your basic bitch. I don't want to put too much in here because, the idea is you have to update the data, or if you move to other data, you can just include it in this player history tab and import however you change it. But if someone tries to keep up with this, I don't want them having to find too many obscure stats. And so my idea here is to try and limit to reasonably easy stats to find for 2021 so that you could do it again for the next year without, needing me, essentially. Yeah, this is just static. I did mean to look closer into my strength of schedule thing and get R values and stuff for it, but I'm really interested in the difference between whether the defense. Okay, so the way it's working is it's looking up New England's schedule, right? And then it goes and looks up the teams they're facing and sees how far above or below, on average, the positions that each player were in points per game going up against those defenses. But it looks across whether they were above or below the league average or above or below their opponent's average. And that's this team thing. And I find that really interesting. Especially, I don't know what to make of it yet, but it's interesting that according to league average, Atlanta's got a schedule that should allow them, a fairly middling schedule. But in terms of teams that reverse the course of their opponent's average positions, they actually have a below average schedule. You see what I mean? I don't know what to make of that because I haven't really ever been able to dig into it yet. But it's something I was playing with at the end of last year. Instead of looking at the league average, I was looking at, their opponent's average. And I think that's interesting. But I literally have no thoughts on it yet. I haven't been able to really dig in. That's why I didn't like this. Actually, this completion percentage for the quarterback one for the team in the projection model you've got, because essentially it's not hard to do at all. But I did have to create like a QB1 column and then a QB ID column, and then look at the average for the players with A dots. And so there's a lot of conditions, and I worry about, someone else's ability to recreate it. But that's probably just arrogance, to be fair. I mean, it's not that hard, dingus. You did it. And it only really matters for the quarterbacks because it's going to import that on a team level. Got some missing values here. No, we're good. Where was that? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's just 0. Don't know why it's kicking up values for this over here. Oh, I forgot to put in. Oh, look at me go. I forgot to put in an if-error formula on this one. This is probably quarterbacks, right? Yeah, this is all quarterbacks. Obviously, quarterbacks didn't have targets to work with, so that regress target share is all an error. Thanks for showing up, by the way, Tanho. It's nice to see the popular streamers stop by for a second. Oh, come on. I actually saw something really interesting in the Discord. Someone posted a formula and I didn't know it. And I want to go look at that. It's where you could use a conditional formatting in a search or a condition in a search. I know I half saw it, so break, but okay, there we go. I've got to give you the IDs because it's working through the ID system. Because if you do want to create your own projections, you're going to need one. Trust me. I know it's fun to, filter names into an even format, but it does not work way too often. There's always players that break it, no matter how. And that super formula someone in our Discord created to fully remove all form. I mean, it's amazing. It's just that's the point. You can have an amazing formula that does almost all of it, and it still mess up. Because Tutu is going to be called Chitarius, or Chitarius is going to be called Tutu, or there's always something. All right, I think we're good here, right? These points don't look too wacky. Okay, no, something's changed. I've got Trey Lance as QB1. What the frick? Murray, someone. Okay, let's go look at San Francisco. What do I keep breaking here? They're throwing 37 more times than we're projecting, which is fine. But who's getting... playing 16 games? Jimmy Garoppolo, we've got playing too many games. Probably. I don't think he's necessarily the starter, but... Oh, we got Kittle and Debo going off, but that's fine. Why is Trey Lance getting 421 fantasy points? 6,222 passing yards. That's probably why. Sorry, that would have been funnier, but I'm really tired. Oh, here we go. Debo's. For some reason, Debo's efficiency just bolted straight the fuck up. Oh, what have I done now? his racer so gosh darn high? I must have typed something into his cell accidentally, right? That can't be his actual racer. And his target share. Oh, it's because he didn't play enough games, that's why. Projected him for 24% of the targets, which I think is honestly fair. But this racer's just insane. Player history. All right. Can you see this? I might choose far zoomed out, by the way. I have to zoom in far enough I can barely see for you to see it all. Just saying. It's only using yards per target if he's a running back. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this two racer is a problem. Let me go check that stat. Oh. Something cool a friend of mine is making, still in the process, though. No, I was thinking about something else, but that website you were talking about on the Discord does sound cool. Someone literally typed an Excel function in that I hadn't seen before. I wish I could mark things because I don't even know where it was, but it was really interesting. He was telling you, actually, Connor, how to fix something, and he showed you how you could use a condition in a way that I hadn't seen before. Oh, well. Excel's crashing on me. Give me a minute. How's your days going? You all watched every single Petite Pod ever yet? I know I have. Several times. No, dang, his racer was stupid high last season. Apparently. We can fix that. He had more than 50 opportunities. That's a big problem. Because that's the threshold we've got it set at. I mean, people sleeping on Debo a little bit. I'm never a huge fan, but at this point I am. There we go. Okay, so heads up, Debo has a weird 2020 racer. He was just exceptionally efficient, which can happen a lot for especially players that have a slight element to their rushing game, which I don't think is Debo Samuel, actually, but apparently they have really good strengths of schedule. Still coming in really high. What's his touchdowns doing? $59 receptions. That's not right. Oh no, that's got to be Kittle. Okay, there we go. No, that's fucking. going on? I'm projected for like 90 yards a game. 10 ADOT, 1.34 racer, which is still high for a wide receiver, to be fair. Honestly, that's just a thing you have to override, I think. He's been way too efficient in his relatively small sample. And you can write that into the formula, but it's just a little too specific. You know what I mean? 0.9 racer is actually really good for a wide receiver. Okay, yeah, now he's looking human. Okay, thank you. Got some over-projected quarterbacks. That makes sense. Some under-projected running back ones. That seems to be a problem with me, actually. Wide receiver 1 is Justin Jefferson, I think. Oh, no, he's fallen, apparently. So now, Michael Thomas. That's got nothing to do with the fact they just drafted and won in a league, surely. That's because Drew Brees is probably listed as his quarterback still, actually. No, it's Jameis Winston. Strike 2, Pete. Understand your own model, you know? So what's going on here? I mean, that's a fine projection for Michael Thomas, but the changing quarterback, I assumed it would have fallen. Michael Thomas can't have an 11 ADOT, can he? No, it's sub 11, which is a 57% completion rate for Jameis Winston, paired with, what's his catch rate? 67%. Whoa. Michael Thomas has an average catch rate of 76%. That's actually kind of insane. Drew Brees. And so that's I'm losing my columns. Where's his actual catch rate? Receptions. Game. That actually sounds reasonable. Okay, so it's this one. So we're bringing him down. See, that kind of works. You know what I mean? You lose Drew Brees and you drop from a 76% target catch rate to 67. That's fair. That seems remarkably fair, doesn't it? I know Jameis Winston should probably be lower than that, but Michael Thomas probably has something to do with that high catch rate. You know what I mean? So he is getting bumped down a little bit. Yeah, it's interesting. Probably do something like that with touchdowns too. Ooh, now we're getting fancy. Taking him for 6 targets a game, which seems fair. Well, 6 receptions a game, 8 to 9 targets a game. That's not adjusting for the quarterback switch, so it's a thing you could switch over if you really feel strongly about Jameis Winston, for example. That seems fair as an average, as a default projection model, though. 107 receiving yards because he's got a great history. Yeah, that's fair. But it is adjusting his catch rate down a little bit, so fewer PPR points than he would if Drew Brees was in there. I mean, that seems fair for Michael Thomas to jump up for wide receiver 1 on default, you know, with a slight efficiency ding. You have to do some of the work, you know? 6 touchdowns a game. That's 9 touchdowns a year. Yeah, we probably need to bring New Orleans down a little bit more because of Jameis Winston, but it's the type of thing that you bring down. It's not the type of thing that defaults. I'm not projecting Taysom Hill to play like 16 games. I'm moving him down. All right. Okay, so professional turns to look at the camera. Welcome back. By the way, I haven't said it. I guess if ever you learn the video edit, I'll do the edit here. Welcome back to creating a basic projection model just using a blank Excel sheet and some data. Now, we did try and go and get data and bring it in and fill it that way, but I've had to fast track us a little bit because I have the data and I'm lazy. And also, that's the reason, really. But I also fast tracked us while doing at least one of these days off stream just to try and catch us up, because there were some things which were just staring at me work on a spreadsheet was too boring to do on the stream. I did basically one of these all by myself, and I think it was because I was just doing a lot of filler work. So I caught us up a lot with that. Things that have changed in this iteration, this 4th day iteration, technically 5th day iteration of building a basic projection model. I created a catch rate, so the percentage of targets that a player catches on average for a quarterback. So in other words, if a player has an ADOT over 11 or under 11, I went back in time and looked at the receivers and their average catch rate below and above and below an 11 ADOT, just to give some sort of modification for wide receiver stats when we see a change in quarterback, like with Jameis Winston going to New Orleans and Drew Brees not being a thing anymore, sadly, for me at least, because I can't still, Drew Brees is pretty awesome statistically. So that's really the major change here. It doesn't do a lot, and you could use similar logic using the stats that's in the player tab for touchdowns and various other things. But I was just kind of playing around with the idea of it, and I didn't want to go too crazy. What else did I add? I mentioned it earlier. So yeah, we've got these 2 columns in here now, which are a little hard to, continue updating if you're planning to do this in the future by yourself. And the other thing I've added is points per opportunity, which I haven't got to yet. Last stream, we ended up adding my basic points per game against based on a league and team average, just to create some sort of strengths of schedule ranking that you can eyeball as you create projections for different positions for the team. So New Orleans, for example, apparently, based on last year, which means it's useless and worthless, but still, they're facing a better passing schedule than they are a rushing schedule. And so you can adjust slightly however you want using your team overrides, which are still here. So we can change any player's stats to exactly what we want, just in case the defaults aren't doing it for us. The aim of today, I guess, as much as there is an aim, is to just field test it a little bit, see what projections it's actually making, and see what might be going right or wrong. And then we should be pretty close, unless we want to make any additional changes, like maybe doing the touchdown thing for quarterbacks or something. But again, remember, every time I do something like that, if I'm creating something for it, that means you would have to recreate it moving forward, because I'm not doing the build it again every year. Well, maybe I will. Who knows? It depends if I can still afford my bills so I can stream. More than anything. Connor, what's up? You should look into vacated rush attempts for running backs. Yeah, that's the thing I got to look into too, for sure. I think there might be a better case for it to be made, since running back's more of a coaching decision, or that's my default understanding of it anyway. All right. I'm trying to label all my columns just so you always know what they are, even when I hide them. All right, let's see. Let's go to the export tab and see what the only other thing I don't. Well, there's a few things I I will and want to change for my own preferences and learnings. It's a little hard to find because I'm trying not to put color coding and organization in here too much. I've moved the missing volume all the way up here to the front, so it's something you can see as you look over your ranks and you're sliding through, just so you know, if a team's being way too far over projected, like Buffalo is here in terms of targets for ranked rank. In fact, that means that Buffalo is missing significant targets, so we'd probably need to give like more targets to someone else based on a projected volume. Maybe I'm being a little unfair to how much Emmanuel Sanders will be able to play this year, or so on and so forth. Or we could boost a target share or two. Either way. Also, I put the season stats first, then the points per game stats, even though it projects points per game and then creates yearly stats, just because I think most people want to look at the overall yearly stuff. The points per game stuff, that's not our go-to when we're looking for I think most people are looking for what we're projecting. Then it projects the team total per game attempts, rushing and passing. Then you can see the player efficiency, the efficiency we're actually projecting. So the rushing and receiving touchdown yards per touchdowns, and also that catch percent average I mentioned, and modified slightly by team volume. And then we get into, those little team averages for depth chart positions and quarterback averages as well. And so the adjustments are kind of further along. I don't know where you're going to want them. But, dragging and dropping is fairly easy. So hopefully you can reorganize it for yourself as you want. And color coding can help a lot when you just try to look through your sheet like I just was, trying to find out what was going on with one particular player. It's a little hard to find when it's just one big white mass. But again, I'm trying to leave it open to you do your own thing. I see my formatting in a lot of people's sheets, by the way, and that's also kind of why I do that, just because, encourage you to, do your own thing. Although I like seeing my formatting everywhere, don't get me wrong. Okay. So right now it's Kyler Murray projected as a quarterback 1. That doesn't seem unfair, but it's probably something we want Patrick Mahomes on. And we're probably going to have a Kansas City conversation before we get out here. Here's a weird thing. No one, including me, thinks that Kansas City isn't the highest scoring, best fantasy offense in the league, but their stats don't project that way. This happened last year as well. I had to boost touchdowns kind of across the board manually to get it there, because I don't know. The offense works in such a way that it's not there through volume, and it's really not there through efficiency. We just also know that it is. And so you kind of have to work with it a little bit. Josh Allen rushing attempts. Daniel Jones is definitely being overprojected here. So let's go see what's happening in New York. All right, so we've got Daniel Jones projected as a quarterback 2 overall, which is definitely too high for anyone's money. It seems to be because Evan Ingram is a tight end 4. Sterling Shepard is getting a pretty decent rank of wide receiver 27, 28. That doesn't seem insane. Is Daniel Jones getting way too many rushing attempts? That's the other thing that it could be. He's getting 17.5 rushing attempts, percentage of the team's rushing attempts. That seems high for a Daniel Jones. It's had 16 and 19% of the team's rushing attempts. So, but Barkley wasn't available last year, which is probably why I saw an increase. I know that still seems a little high. I'm not au fait with quarterbacks. I know enough if that's too high. I'd have to go look. He's getting 64 rushing attempts. No, let me just do a little fact check on that. Has he been rushing that much? And I don't notice. It's possible. Passing attempts. No. Here we are. Rushing attempts. Yeah, in 2020, he got 65 rushing attempts. In 2019, he got 45. I mean, obviously, he was boosted last year. no Barkley on the team. But hell, shit, yeah, that's actually not insane. It's almost exactly what he did last year. You probably would bring him down, though, just because we know Barkley's back. And that's the problem with players with not quite enough history, if you know what I mean. 2.8 rushing attempts per game, that seems too low. 44, 12 is too high. 16 is too high, 12 is too low. I would personally put something in around 14 there because that looks like a fairer average between the two seasons, given that Barkley was missing for him. But that's not really what's boosting him. That's still, he's quarterback 3, so 4,400 passing yards. That's a lot, but it's not insane. Sterling Shepard's getting 900 receiving yards. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, it's because Kenny Galladay's there now, and so we're getting an extra lump on top. And Golden Tate, I don't think he's even on the team anymore, is he? Or at least the roles have got to change here, so my depth chart's probably wrong. Yeah, Golden Tate's a free agent now. That'll take care of it without having to think about it too hard. Yeah, sorry. I wish I had my depth charts perfect, but like I said, we started with a blank sheet, so I really came in intentionally trying not to have everything ready. There you go. It still says something like if you add a wide receiver, our little depth charts are not doing enough. Like you should be able to say 2 anyway. What just happened there? All right. Wide receiver 13, quarterback 13. Man, that's still high. You know what I mean? But then again, we've got Ingram at tight end 4. Kyle Rudolph just been added to the team. So I know where it's coming from. It's pretty easy to identify that Kyle Rudolph is on the team and probably boosting the stats a little bit. Yeah. Not much, 19 receiving yards a game. Actually, that seems fair. Yeah. Maybe I just have Daniel Jones in my DNA. I can't accept him as a top 15 quarterback. Bad quarterback schedule, good receiving position schedule. Isn't that weird? Kenny Galladay with 742 receiving yards. That actually seems low for Kenny. And it's because I'm imagining the team average is low since, team average is 21%. And Kenny Galladay has been living on, or he's getting, rather, a target share of 18% based on our little formula. I don't like that. Sorry. For some reason, when I push my shift key, I can hear beeping in my ear, and I don't understand why. Kenny Galladay is too low. His target share history. Did I screw something up with Kenny? No, that's just what the formula wants to do to him. It always wants to drag him down a little bit because he's slightly older than, most wide receivers in that range. I think that's a little unfair. Lost target share. Yeah, that's too low for Kenny. I don't think I want to change the formula based on that, but it does mean that someone like Kenny Galladay, who's a little older, unjustly hurt because he's never had like a 25, 26% target share, and it's just pulling him down. Oh, that was the wrong one. Yeah, this is a thing. My target share columns are too far away. Shepard 21, Slayton 17. That's based on team positional history. And that means we're 80 targets over. I'm going to fix that by fixing the depth chart. Slayton really isn't the wide receiver, a typical wide receiver 3. He's more wide receiver 4 at this point. I guess it's closer. I think Shepard's being remarkably overprojected. Going to bring Ingram down. Again, these are changes that I would want to make because the projection model, as it were, the machine, the engine here, isn't as smart as putting together the story by yourself. You look at it and you're like, yeah, Evan Ingram has had good target share, but he hasn't done that in a while. His average is a little bit of a lie. The average of the team is a little elevated because, there's been no true wide receiver 1. And so you switch them. You give Kenny Golladay the good target share projection and Evan Ingram a lower target share projection, and it makes a little bit more sense. And that's kind of what projections are versus creating a model. Hate to tell you. Well, I think so. Also, we're projecting a lot of passing attempts in general. 30 pass attempts a game. We really expect them to continue to be in a lose-lose situation here. 117 targets for Golladay. I think that's on the borderline where most people weren't going to want him. 120 targets. One little change and it gets close. I do think Jones is being slightly overprojected, but that might be because the quarterbacks around him are getting underprojected. That's a constant problem. Oh, sorry to keep zooming back and forward here. I know it's hard on the eyes. Yeah, 20 points per game. He's definitely overprojected. Yeah, we're projecting 89% of passing attempts. Look at that. So the touchdowns are a problem. So touchdowns often turn out to be a problem with basic projection models because they're weird, frankly. Go to the yearly stats and we'll see who's kicking up. Ingram's getting 3, Galladay's getting 5. A little low, but fine. Shepard getting 4. Yeah, sure. 2, yeah. Oh, Daniel Jones. Man, this thing really thinks Daniel Jones is a rusher. Like, did I just miss that? Yeah, wow. He was getting team's average is like 100 yards per rushing touchdown for a quarterback, and his average is 280. All right. I do like going through the yards better. This is a hell of a lot better than going through actual efficiency in touchdowns. Hmm. His average is 280. All right. I'm bringing that up. I don't think he's scoring a rushing touchdown a game. I'm sorry, I just don't. I want his rushing touchdown than the one a game, at least. Yeah, all right, there you go. And that puts him quarterback 13 still. I don't know, man. It really likes Daniel Jones with these extra weapons, but no one here seems particularly over-projected outside of the passing attempts in general. So I think that might be just quarterbacks 14 to 15 are a little under-projected because we haven't manicured them. Let's go check that. Dak Prescott, yeah, he should be higher. Should be higher on Burrow, should be higher on Herbert. So yeah, there's a few that need to be elevated slightly. All right. See if we see any other noticeable. Well, Dallas and Dallas seems strong. Connor says Kadarius Toney sucks. Okay, Connor, give him a chance. You never know. All right. So, wow, the Dallas schedule sucks. Apparently, according to strength of schedule, which means nothing. But there's no good position for the Dallas Cowboys apparently, based on last year, and a points per game. Yeah, it's just below average across the board. Wow. Dallas in for a rough year with CeeDee Lamb? I think not. Anyway, let's see what we got going on here. We've got two 1,000-yard receivers, one 700-yard receiver, remarkably close to what happened last year, but it's giving CeeDee Lamb the edge now over Cooper because we're regressing his touchdowns back because of his age. It works. I mean, it does. Sorry to be excited, but that fundamentally is working for what we want, and that's exciting for me. So, call me names. I don't care. Also, under-projecting the total projected targets by 80, so we can actually afford to boost someone up. Let's see. Yeah, let's see CeeDee. Wow, CeeDee Lamb must have good efficiencies. Too good. 75 rushing yards per game. Yeah, it really loves his efficiency. That makes sense. I'm just going to go ahead and boost CeeDee Lamb's target share. I think, there's a chance he becomes a wide receiver one there. That's the kind of thing I'd like to project. So let's boost him up to 22. Completely overwrites it, puts him slightly above Amari Cooper, and this team still is owed 66 targets. That's interesting. Dak Prescott jumps up to a QB 11. All right. We'll go a little harder in the paint for this. We'll boost Amari and CeeDee Lamb. Top 8. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you can go in harder. I'm not actually working my projections right now. It's just that, again, it takes some manicuring with some fairly easy to make assumptions, however you think the team breaks down. But it's working. It got CeeDee Lamb above Cooper before we did anything. It was just that they were all getting slightly lower target shares than we'd really expect, which I think is fair overall. When you're trying to regress predict target share, it shouldn't go to the nth plus ceiling. That's for me to do. And it kept Michael Gallup at 17. I kind of like that. Keeps him as wide receiver 3 for all of us, No thoughts? I was excited about that. Without doing anything, it liked CeeDee Lamb more than Amari Cooper. I think that's exciting. Okay, Baker Mayfield looks too high. Cam Newton, that's going to be his rushing. That sucks. Yeah, his passing's also too good. Too efficient. He's getting almost no interceptions compared to like Baker. Go look at Cleveland. Baker Mayfield looked a little high. We're actually dang close to our projected average without doing anything, which is nice to know. Overall volume numbers. Sorry, I'm really beat up. I'm not groaning for the fun of it. Landry's getting 25% of the targets. Odell Beckham's getting 23. Again, it seems fair, but we might want to downplay Landry at this point. But that is a downplay, weirdly, compared to what he's typically been doing. Nick Chubb, 12%. Austin Hooper, 13%. Actually, all seems really reasonable. Let's see. Touchdowns. Okay, it's given Landry and Odell Beckham like slight potential to have rushing touchdowns. They must have done that at some point in their history that I don't remember. Landry, way too much, dude. We've got him as a wide receiver 1. That doesn't help. Here we go. It doesn't help with Baker Mayfield much, but I think it's fair touch distribution. Is it though? Not really. I mean, on default, I actually wouldn't mind putting Odell Beckham as a wide receiver 1 on that team, and I think that would have high implications for the rest of the team if he came back to that. But who's going to have more touches on average? We should probably say Landry is going to have more touches, right? Based on what's recently happened instead of my opinion on what should happen. Wait, I need to look at that touchdowns. What was it? What am I doing here? It's per game. 6, 5. I mean, that's reasonable. It's just that Landry's getting so many yards. Where is his racer coming from? That should be moved. A.racer. Yeah, we probably need to do something to that. Because right now it's just looking up the average for that player if they've had over 60 targets. We could probably do something to bring that down, like putting an age regression in there. So yeah, we probably need to have a stream where we look at regressing player efficiency based on age. We don't want a big adjustment, just enough that it knocks someone like Landry down a peg or two. Also, his A-dots. Wait, that's not a Jarvis Landry A-dot. Oh, I've got a broken formula. Hang on. You see? I knew we'd find something. Formula's got a reference that shouldn't exist anymore. CA. Oh, I got rid of the opportunities column by mistake or on purpose, one or the other. Apparently, so I can rewrite that formula for you all. There we go. Then we're going to go look at Cleveland. Yeah, Landry's A dot drops to 7, which means he can be the target share leader or the target leader even. And get 58 yards per game, which is a lot more reasonable. And Odell Beckham getting more yards per game despite having lower touchdown share. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. And it does drop Mayfield in himself. Now you might want to be slightly more negative on both of those players. I get it. But I think that's a good default. I think the things we have in here to automate are doing their job, and it's leaving a reasonable amount of work for you to do to go through to fact check and then add your own thoughts onto the team, which is the whole point. Hunter Bryant's I don't have his I do, but apparently I didn't put Hunter Bryant's ID in here. And you add that because you don't need my silly formatting. There we go. Fuck my life 2020. Yeah. All right, there we go. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds as in doing the work of projections here. I just want to check everything's kind of doing what it should. And what it should be doing is doing enough for you that you get to have fun deciding, no, Jarvis Landry's going to stink this season. I'm going to drop his opportunity despite what the average says it should, and I'm going to really boost Anthony Schwartz. If that's your take, you can just do that in the override tab because you think that's what's going to happen, and it adjusts accordingly while telling you that, it doesn't think Landry and Odell Beckham are dead, but you're the smart one who knows better, and so you can adjust it all. But yeah, they're not that old, so it shouldn't just drop them out the league, despite popular belief. So yeah, the thing I'm finding the most annoying, or the thing I want to change the most, is the organization of all this, where everything is, or formatting it so I can easily see where everything is. And that's the thing I'm, like I mentioned earlier, really going to leave up to you. All right, let's see what else changed now I fixed that A dot column. Hang on, let me just fact check the depth chart. Is Rashad Higgins, he's still on Cleveland? Yeah, he's still in Cleveland, man. Rashad Higgins just continues to hang on. I like Rashad Higgins. Go, Rashad Higgins, go. You go, man. Tywan Taylor, he was a Tennessee draft pick at one point, right? I think I liked him. He's a free agent now. Okay. And that'll also drop Cleveland. And Baker Mayfield, yeah. I think 12 is high but fair without manicuring it at all. All right. So what else looks weird? Tom Brady, but you know why he's up that high, right? You don't look at that and think the model's broken. It's why Tom Brady ends up here. It's because he's got Chris Godwin, he's got Antonio Brown running through his average, and Mike Evans. And Gronkowski running through his averages, despite a slight age regression in target share. Yeah, we know that's too high. We know why that's too high. It makes a lot of sense that it's too high, and we know the adjustments we want to make to fix it. Also, things like, unfortunately, Tyler Johnson and Justin Watson are just not getting to get in the field. I really doubt Jalen Darden does either, so I'm dropping them both to one game each. Scott Miller, is he still on the team? And if you're a Scott Miller fan, I remember there used to be a few. That's not shade. I honestly Players come on and off the back of these depth charts all the time. Yep, he's still a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, so I'll leave him there with 7 games, just to prove I don't hate him. Okay, yeah, here's the problem right there. I've already dropped Antonio Brown to 10 games, and it's still doing that. I'm actually under-projecting the targets. It's just because those players are so good, or have been so good, their efficiency looks tremendous. We're dividing the target share fairly reasonably without having to do much to it. Grunk's getting 12%, which, you know, given that he's using his history, that's reasonable. So what's going on here? It's got to be passing touchdowns, right? Yep. Let's look at the season-long numbers. You know, Mike Evans gets 6, Chris Godwin gets 6, Antonio Brown gets 3, Gronk gets 5, Tom Brady gets to be in the top 5 quarterbacks. And it's a little hard to know what to do with that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, I get that it's Tom Brady, but if you've got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Antonio Brown all having reasonable seasons, like that's 600 yards for Antonio Brown. That is not insane. And then you've got 1,300 for Godwin. I think that's, but people underrate Godwin like severely. But I mean, again, we're not projecting him too big of a role. He's just been really good, so it's saying he's going to be really good again. Maybe a little too good. You know, one racer with a 11 ADOT. We can bring that down slightly. One is a little too perfect. One racer is like literally, you do see racers higher than 1, but for a wide receiver to get 1 at racer it's a really good score. Average is 0.65. Also, these running backs probably getting a large role. Well, I mean, we can make Leonard Fournette the running back 2. Yeah, that's more reasonable. Just from the receiving standpoint. Yeah, it's all fine. Oh, wait, Kyle Trask is going to be projected for too many games. I just put in a base number of 5 for a backup quarterback just so they get some level of projection, because obviously they're not going to do nothing. They're going to get snaps and finish out games. And it gives you some reasonable expectation of what they would do on that team. Quarterback got injured and they played 5 games, you know? But you could set any number of games you wanted. That's the whole point. Let's see what they all do with a full season. Ideally, they'd be pretty close to similar. Not exactly similar. Hey, Peyton Barber's still in Tampa Bay. Should know that because I've got him rostered, but no, he's on Washington now. Okay, good to know. McCoy? I think he is actually. I looked him up the other day. Am I still streaming? Cause my internet just dropped to nothing. Yeah? Cool. Nope, McCoy is now a free agent. That makes sense. That'll help out. They're a Debo. Man, they were carrying a lot of, you know, You know what, guys? He's on the Jags now, believe it or not. EAC? OJ Howard's got to still be there. Cameron Braid. Yep. Don't tell me Justin Watson got dropped. Oh, he's still there. Neat. All right. Manicure the depth chart a little bit, and we could do more to that. And remember, the reason I'm building in games as well is because we're going to have to deal with 16, 17 game seasons this year. So having that built in is going to be useful moving forward. We're going to drop Antonio Brown just a smidge. Yeah. It's real easy, frankly. This kind of rolls off the tongue, as it were. What's his interceptions look like? 10. Yeah. So let me just check the interception formula. Yep. Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes. Now it's looking a little more, and that was like what? What have you done? 10 minutes of work here? I know I've been streaming for an hour, but we've really only been looking at him for 10 minutes. About massaged it into reasonable. I think that's pretty good for a free online thing we built in 4 days. I think it's working shit hot fire actually for what we've done. Good job, good job, guys. Seriously. It took me a lot longer to get this far along with my first one, put it that way. Points per game ranked 78. Wide receiver ranked 76. Neat. I mean, there's so much you can add in with projections. You can look at usable weeks. You can project from a different angle. You can create a different regression formula. And like I say, we can work on that with efficiency. But all of that's fun. What you want it to include before you impart your wisdom, your subjective wisdom on top of it. But as it is, it's working pretty well, I think. Like, remarkably well, actually. Like, it likes Chris Carson, and we don't, but we know why it likes Chris Carson. You know what I mean? That makes sense. Okay, it just doesn't know the thing that I know. But that's a really specific Chris Carson-esque thing to know that a spreadsheet shouldn't figure out, whereas your big brain mind knows immediately, oh, I just gotta go pull him down a little bit. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Try and get too specific with a projection machine and it just goes fucking wild, to be honest. You don't want it to be a big brain thing. You want it to work with your mind a little bit. Sorry, I'm talking really weird. I'm very tired, but I mean, projections are meant to be subjective, and I want it to present a decent average so that then you can impart your subjectivity, your assumptions. Oh, Chris Carson's done for, so I'm going to rack him down. I'm going to rack someone else's usage up. I'm going to call Chris Carson the running back 3 and Rashad Penny the running back 1, and it'll automatically give you at least some sort of assumption, which is pretty decent, which is you can then alter. And that seems good. I didn't expect to get here at stream 4/5. Really didn't. Like, we got to list them as 1, but if you switch DJ Dallas to 1 and Chris Carson to 2, boom. Doesn't do exactly what you might want, but it drops Chris Carson down to, the running back 25, because he's still going to have a higher player average, but it's using that team average you just adjusted to show that DJ Dallas has more significant upside because you think he'll eventually be the running back 1 on the team. Which, you probably don't, so I'll switch him back. And when the player's average lines up with what you think they're going to be on the team this year, it just puts them about where they've been when that happened, if they've been there before. That makes sense. That makes way too much sense. Ain't fancy. We're using air yards for racer. We're not talking about team receiving air yards or nothing. We don't have to. Yeah, Greg Olson's definitely out of the league now, right? Honestly, had to check that. Under projecting their target share, interestingly enough. So I'm boosting a few players here. Give Will Disley a little more target share with Greg Olson gone. I mean, if you want something to create it for you, you can just, I'll create it for you. I do projections. Sorry, weird thought. I think ultimately, if you're trying to do projections, you want to be able to impart wisdom on the thing instead of it to impart wisdom on you. I mean, it does. It teaches us something. Like, again, Chris Carson should be good, so you have to assume something, that he's going to be injured, so you reduce the number of games, or he's not going to be the running back 1 anymore, so it reduces the number of games that he is the running back 1. And then you've got things like rookies, which we could probably do a little few adjustments for before we call it quits. Like Jonathan Taylor's getting 55% of the team's rushing attempts, which is about a running back 1, actually, but he's still not getting enough of those targets because he was pretty under-targeted last year, considering that's in his skill set. So you don't want to use his actual history. You want to use your knowledge of him as a college running back, so boost him. You know what I mean? 55 is really about average. I'm thinking about including the tab in here, but you have the data that shows you the average kind of usages for top 5, top 10, top 12 players. Like James Simpson, who gives away a projection model, actually, if you're interested. Every page of his kind of has something like that on it. I'm just used to looking at it. And so I know that might be the hard bit left for you, to get a sense of what's high and what's low. There you go. Who's projecting to be the running back 1? Christian McCaffrey. I think that makes very good sense. You might not, but you can understand why a projection would. Believe me, I've seen some. Like we saw Trey Lance at the top of the quarterback ranks once. That's not uncommon if you've built something slightly wrong. I've done it a lot. Connor, Dalvin Cook, running back 3. Roto Underworld will love me. Maybe they'll hire me again. Who knows? Alvin Kamara. Yeah, okay, Drew Brees is gone. This is a thing. This is a problem when you've got changing depth charts. It's not adjusting for changes in depth charts quite as much as we might like. But look, we're already under projecting the offense significantly, and that makes sense to some extent without Drew Brees. And Michael Thomas, so close to the age cliff. When we could also... we've got this team average, right? Target share for running back 1s, for example, for that team since 2019 is what we've got it set to. So Alvin Kamara is getting Alvin Kamara level touches. We could also adjust that by quarterback usage. I've heard that thing mentioned. I mean, you can also just override it, which is what I would do because it's way too unique. But you could, and I mean, the formula's already built here. So if that's a thing you like or you wanted to add, you just go to the target share column. If you understand the formula well enough, which hopefully you'll get to a point of as you build this for yourself and play with it for yourself, you can also add or put in another column in here to go look up the target share if you're running your quarterback is that guy. I might need to add that column for you all, actually. But that would make this data really confusing. I can promise you that. This player data, if I add in the quarterback 1, it gets awkward to write those formulas. So I'll leave it out for now. Questions, thoughts, comments. I know all of you have gone, and it's just my daughter watching me at this point, waiting for that bass, and 3 other people who, aren't watching, but they left it on while they're working. But I think that's pretty neat. What I want to do for this stream, unless anyone's got anything, is add a check. Like, I've put this historic average for position ranks, which is a hidden tab. But if you unhide it, I've just got the points per game of the last 3 years for the quarterback 1, the quarterback 4, just the whole overall ranks, just so you get a sense of where your projections measure up to what's happened historically for those position ranks. I mean, it's in an out the way place. It doesn't have to get in the way. But it just gives you an eyeball of, okay, my projection's doing a pretty decent job here. They're not over or under 10, 20 points, I mean, they're a little off, but you don't want them 1-to-1 at all. It's a different year. Like Tom Brady is clearly getting too many points for the quarterback 4, and it's kind of up to you if you like or you don't like that. We probably want to reduce Tom Brady for a number of different reasons. Anyway, and so, it does a pretty good job of highlighting things. It's just a nice historic check. I also like to add one in, and one that I had implemented into my model when I was working for Roto Underworld was this yards per team opportunity, points per opportunity. It's like all points per game type stats. It's fairly stable, and so I've got it in your data already here, and so I was going to show you what I would do with that. And this is points per opportunity. So what I go to is go to my streamer model, the model itself, and then right next to points per game, or right by the player's name if you wanted to. Actually, since it's points per opportunity, I'm going to do it as if it's 2 fresh new things, but you could put it any way you wanted. Let's put it at the start here. Okay, points per opportunity. Average. What you're going to do is write an average formula, so equals average. This is too small for you to see. Let me zoom. In fact, we'll go big screen for that. All right. So we're just going to go look up the players' points per opportunity average. So equals average if S, so we can add conditions. Player history, we want the average of the points per opportunity. If they have the same player ID as our player. And let's say if they have, they touch the ball more than 50 times in that year. Greater or equal 50. So we add the ID in over here. Now I'm going to lock those columns just because it's a habit that's good to get into. So they don't move when you slide the formula. If you happen to slide the formula. And obviously some players don't have a history because Eno Benjamin, Max Williams, and Don Arnold haven't played enough. So we'll put an if error formula in. Just have it spit out a nice little NA. So we know there's just no data there. Then we want to calculate the points per opportunity that we're actually projecting. So we'll go to the PPR points if we can. Excel's crashing on me. Give me a second here. Really working hard, aren't you? Excel's breaking. Give it a minute, all right? We're asking it to do things. It doesn't want to do things. I just want to be able to look across. Come on, dude. You got this. Oh, it's so nearly ready. How you doing, three people? Okay, it's trying to do too much. We're going to close some stuff here. Sounds like it's about to take off, so I'm just going to hold back for a second here and let it calm down. And what I'm essentially trying to do is see if our projection is in line with what the player has done on a per touch-up basis. And again, like the historic average, it'll just be an eyeball just to see if you're way too far over or under what should be roughly expected from that player. Because believe it or not, good players are typically consistently good and bad players are typically consistently bad year over year. It's the underlying secret of the NFL, really. So, okay, we just give me a second. Sorry, Discord. See you in a bit. Yeah, I know. I've got to reinstall that add-in. Okay. Yeah. All right. Big screen again. All right. So equals. We want their points. We want our projected points, which are right here, divided by the sum of passing attempts rushing attempts, and targets. Because that's how that one's calculated. Nice. And what their average is minus what we're actually projecting. If error, we're just going to produce a nice fat NA again. Preferred conditional formatting, your mileage may vary. And that actually gives you an interesting way of filtering projections, just to see if anyone is too far over. You just go look at the extremes. Like someone apparently is, Brian Hoyer is 2 points per opportunity below expected. I don't think we care about that overly. Who's getting over projected? No one's getting projected on a points per opportunity basis too much. Debo's a little high, but not by much. Normally this is 2 or 3 points before I get, concern. 0.6 points per opportunity above expected based on a 2-year average is not a concern. This is doing a good job, believe it or not. So I'm going to leave that in here. Again, you can just delete it or remove it if you're not really interested in that kind of thing. But I find a few little checks. Sometimes I import other people's ranks up here just to check I'm not, insane compared to like DLS average or what other people actually think. Let's freeze the right there. All right. I think it's doing a good job, guys. I really do. It's just tweaking and your preferences and any other good formulas you want to add in there. But, your mileage may vary and you might hate it. But you know where everything is, how everything's built, if you've watched every minute. And I guess that some of that has been remarkably slow. And so you probably haven't, but you could always go back and find it. Or DM me anytime, as long as I'm around, I guess. And therefore get a pretty good sense of it. I would really recommend at this point you put in conditional formatting of your own. Like highlight different positions, different colors, so you know what you're looking at. Highlight some of these columns and move them around to where you find them easy to find. Yeah. But I think that's the 4th iteration. I don't think we're done yet. I will plan another stream. I will fact check it and work through it myself. Hopefully you guys as well. And so when we come back to do our 5th/6th stream, we can knock out anything else we think's broken or thinks needs to be added, or if we want to add in an efficiency regression, because we currently don't have one, then we can do that. The link to this, by the way, it's a Google document. That's it. Everyone has access to it. It's in the description of the YouTube video. It's in the description of the Twitch stream, but those change as I do future streams. So the YouTube video is going to be an easy way to find it. You have to make your own copy of it, which I'll show you how to do in a second when you get to that link. And go nuts. There it goes. Now, remember the export's just for if you ever wanted to copy and paste and save it, and so you can search through them. I was just using it as a easy eyeball, just to see who was the quarterback 1, 2, and 3 so far, without having to filter the whole model. And I find this really useful, especially if you want to send them, or if you want to import them to your draft sheet or send them anywhere else. This little export tab is useful, but in and of itself, it's not doing projecting. It's just looking up the actual stats that you're projecting in the stream model tab, which is where all that stuff we just built is. I've left this team volume history in here, which will need to be updated if you wanted to do a successive year. It's pass attempts and rush attempts per game, per head coach. And then the regression formula we're using Z-score is in here, but it will auto update, should auto update if you ever do add future data to it. Player history in here, it's not the entire NFL database, but it's the stats we're using for this projection model. And again, like I said, I tried to keep them basic enough that they can be more easily updated just using public data. All right. Although I did calculate these myself. These two are the ones that are difficult. They're not difficult, but it depends on your experience with NFL, how difficult they are, to be fair. And, some stardom, like if this is your first time coming across something like this, or data in general, it's a starter database right there. It's even got an ID system, so you can link it up to other sources of data if they have IDs. Hide that one. Everything can be unhid when you've got your own copy of it, by the way. I'm just hiding it so it's easy to look through when you first get there. All right. So to make your own copy of something, just in case you've never done it, when you go to the Google link, I know, but they can't see it if I don't. There's a little menu up here called File. You hit that. You hit the Make a Copy button, and then name it whatever you want and click OK. This is my copy, so I don't have to do it. But that's where you would hit OK. And it will pop up in your own Google Drive. And I've protected these sheets so you can't edit them. You can't type in these boxes. But the minute you make your own copy, you can. All right. And that means it's yours to play with. And this default will always be here to come download another copy of. All right. Let's see. Anything else? No, I don't think so. I think we're good. And just one last time, these aren't my projections. These are not the projections I would send out, but they're a pretty good default to begin with. There's something new to build your own with. I would say, whoa, oh, I forgot to write an if error part of this one. Yeah. What was I saying? Depth charts still need a little work too. They got rookies in there, but as you saw, I'm still finding players that are retired in here from last year. San Francisco looks a little ballooned. Right. Oh, all right. I think that's me done playing with the projection model for tonight. Unless anyone has any questions, thoughts, dynasty questions, whatever. I want to see if this article... I wrote an article for DLF and it got kicked back to me. Apparently I'd done a bad job proofreading it, which is definitely fair. So I rewrote it. But quite often they just publish them without letting me know how the rewrite went. Doesn't look like it. I guess I might have to take another swing at that. I hate that. I try and do a good job. Yeah, I have to write my when do running backs break out article too. I can open Discord back up now. We have all the data, Discord guys. Well, we don't have play-by-play data, but we've got all seasonal data. Or weekly data if I can ever get that finished. Sorry, I'm talking directly to the Discord when you guys aren't in there right now, but... Oh, I didn't know I tweeted this out. Neat. Oh, I'm streaming during the open bar again. That's why I feel like I missed something good. Fair enough. All right. It's just me and you, lone viewer. I assume it's you, Iris, right? It's you, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I'm tired. I'm worn out. I think the projection model is a lot better. It's in a lot better shape than I thought we would be, but when I started by this time, and it's in a lot better shape than I thought it was when I literally started this stream. So I'm impressed with this. Not me, because most of that was chat suggestions, and I think it's working pretty well. But let me know what you think. Take a look at it. I will schedule another stream, and we'll see what problems, issues, what else we want to add in there. But outside of that, I think it's a really good base projection model, and we did it in 4 days of work, 2-hour sessions so far. And I fast-tracked this a lot with data I already had and stuff, and I know a few things that might have helped out. But my honest hope is anyone who's interested in doing it, one, you now know a lot of it's just work. Unfortunately, it's not always fun. But you see that it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. And honestly, as much as I love doing projections and giving them to other people and getting them right sometimes, I'm feeling good about that. And it's helped out on Employer Profile for a while. They've been saying they're winning money on DFS. Good, because I don't. Someone needs to. So that's all felt amazing. But what I hope from this is, besides the 4 viewers I regularly got and getting to talk to Connor about how Kadarius Toney sucks, is that if you were maybe thinking that you're interested, but it's hard, it's interested, but it just takes sitting down and figuring it out. It's really that simple. And there's a whole community of people more than willing to nerd out with you, and not just in my Patreon Discord, so pay me the $1 a month. But sure, do that. But like anywhere on Twitter, at us, at me. And if I don't know, I know Tanneho was in here earlier, and he definitely knows. And that's it. Sit down and do it in your free time every now and again. Not because you should, although it does teach you a lot about the NFL. Where targets come from, where they have to come from, especially when you compare what you thought to what happens. And that's an important part of the process. But really just sitting down and trying to figure out how everything's going to fit together and how to calculate projections at all teaches you a lot about fantasy football. And that's really the value of it. And don't do it because you should, though. But I hope someone who might have been interested in it, but didn't think they knew how. It really is just a matter of sitting down and working out. It's just a grind. It's all just a grind. Fortunately, I happen to enjoy this grind, and if you don't, it's cool too. I got it for you. But at least now you have hopefully, if you watch some of it, a better understanding of where it's coming from. At least from me, I'm assuming all those geniuses out there have much better systems, and this is just one version, and you end up creating it over and over again because you think you can do a little bit better. And I was really trying to stick to simple but reasonable medium projections is what I was going for with this, and not like really you should over project players because you don't know who's going to be injured and you don't know who's going to ball out. So you want to show upside and downside. And I used to be doing a lot more of that with my player profile projections, whereas this I stuck purely to reasonable averages that you can adjust up and down. And you don't need to go to insane volume or insane efficiency to do it because it's creating reasonable averages. You can adjust them up slightly, adjust them up slightly down, and they'll look exactly like they should, I think. But so far, I haven't found any major faults with it, which amazes me, actually. But again, we'll take some time. We'll look it over. Hopefully, you'll look it over. And we'll come back next time and let me know what else we want to add. And if you haven't, you're like this is the first few seconds of this you're watching, I'm putting them all in a YouTube playlist. Plug in the channel, I guess. Follow this link to YouTube. Check out the playlist, and you'll find the previous 3 streams as well. They're all as boring as me, as boring as this one for 2-3 hours. But I don't know, some of us find it fun. And if not, no problem. I got other stuff. I got other stuff we can do. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I do hope that's my hope for it. Someone who was interested but thought, but how? Here's an idea. Here's a starter kit, actually. But if you wanted to build it from yourself from here, hopefully very easy to do from this point. And if any of the particular formulas still look confusing, like that's back to the how-to playlist. Like I'm using, like I'm getting taught Excel functions in my Discord. Like I'm using really basic Excel functions. There are better and worse ways of doing something that make things quicker or easier. But you can get most things done with some very basic functions, very basic algebra functions. That's all they are, just simple algebra equations. And I have fun with it. So hopefully you will do. And if you do, let me know. It can be private. You don't have to let other people know. It's fine. But I hope so. Anyway, thanks again. I'm going to get out of here, see if my daughter's still up and still wants that bath. Because, I abandoned her to do this, which is actually pretty bad. But I've been putting this one off for 2 days straight. Yeah, I had to get it done. Anyway, thanks again. I'll see you again next time, whenever that happens to be. Sorry, got to turn the comment off because someone pointed out that they block things sometimes. Apologize for that. I'm trying to get better. I'm just very much an amateur. Anyway, appreciate it. I'm getting out of here. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Thursday is my next free day, so maybe then, but it's probably going to be next Monday or Tuesday as well, because I want time to look over this, and I want you guys to have time to look over it, and get back to me. Or not, I guess. Thanks. Bye. Bye. That word was bye, just in case you didn't. Like I'm going. Bye.